It's 7 o'clock, so we will call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to stand and join me for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, next on our agenda is public comment. This is time for the public during the meeting to have their comments. We also have one later in the agenda. If you'd like to speak, we ask that you come to the front of the microphone so people can hear you and just state your name and your address, or whether you're a resident. So thank you. With that, we will open up public comment. Yes. Let's talk.
Yeah, for short ones. I'm Carol Konechki. I am not a resident. I would like to thank the board for approving my severance, my retirement severance. And thank you for the years of service I've been able to provide the many residents over the years. I've met many wonderful people and I appreciate the support from the good citizens of the township. I thank you again.
Anybody else like to address the board at this time? Okay.
It's the time to address the partner issue.
Yes, yep, this is the time to comment on anything that's on the agenda. So yes, if you have something you'd like to say, now is the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So a little bit about the average height folks. All right. Hi, my name is Kim Manchester. I am a resident of the township for the past 9 years. We live on Bushbach Road, and I am speaking as a fellow citizen here tonight, but also as a registered nurse, as a concerned parent, as just a community member. And with someone who has friends who live in other areas where marijuana has come into the communities, both growing, selling. This is a very, very bad idea for our township. And I'm deeply concerned that it seems that the wheels have been placed into motion among a select few to try to push this through and get started with the building of properties, minus having any kind of permit to do so or permission to do so. And that's deeply concerning to me. As a nurse, I can speak to the fact that working in the mother baby unit for a number of years and also working with birth and families for over 20 years and with my first degree in biology, this substance has a very, very detrimental effect on the people in our community. Definitely on our young people whose brains aren't even developed until they're 25 years old. We have an uptick in the rise of psychotic episodes happening in our emergency rooms all across our nation, but particularly in the states where this has been made legal. This is happening in Michigan right now. We have young people who are at exceedingly high risk, particularly men, of schizophrenia and all of its accompanying heartache and symptoms. And we have young people in our high schools who, when they see the adults in the community really condoning this as something that is good and benign, you know, they begin to believe that, okay, well, this is probably an okay thing for me to do to address the stress in my life, my anxieties, my worries with my friends, to make me relax and feel like I can fit in. And we're talking about a gateway drug, and there are going to be people that have statistics. Hopefully someone from Seriously is here who can present some statistics tonight, but I'm just telling you anecdotally, this is a very, very serious problem. I know children, teenagers who have got involved with marijuana, not because they're bad kids or they're out to do anything wrong, but they're stressed out and they've gone to have very serious issues and this increase in psychotic episode, and then it becomes that gateway drug. When people say it's not addictive, they're not thinking about the fact that we become addicted to something, you know, we could say food is addictive. You can become addicted to anything that gives you a sense of, I can't cope with this on my own, I've run out of my coping skills, I need to address this through a substance. And this is a very, very bad precedent to set for our township. On top of that, it is my understanding that there is a proposed dispensary in mind right on the edge of our city, who has already stated they do not want to have dispensaries in the city. So to come along as their close neighbor, the township, and to plant a dispensary right there at M52, right on the edge of the city, it's so egregious. And then many thoughts running through my mind right now, but a couple final thoughts. It is unconscionable to me that people would be working behind the scenes to try to make this happen. A handful of people who have a vested interest because they have a financial gain to make from this. I feel like instead of the rest of us standing up to discuss why this is so harmful and trying to put the brakes on it from this angle, I think it is important for those who really believe that this is a benefit to our community, be forced to stand up and make their case to us as to why they think this is a benefit to our community. I would posit to you that there is no benefit to be had by putting this here. If someone wants to have it for their own recreational use, they can go elsewhere to get it. It doesn't need to be sold here. It doesn't need to be grown here. By the way, I think it's actually happening on Megan Street. I drove down there and I can see that the infrastructure is being built and they don't have permit to do that yet. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next comment?
Hi, I'm Sandra Lambert. I live on Wishbach Road and I'm a resident of Sylvan Township. First off, I've got a question here for the board. It says here, allowing for all facets of marijuana in Sylvan Township has been discussed at past meetings. The interest from retailers and residents still persists. It was overwhelmingly approved by Sylvan Township voters in 2018. No. In 2018, we probably voted that we thought Michigan should allow people to use it as a recreational drug or for medicinal purposes if they need to in their own homes. It does not say anything here. I certainly didn't vote to have it in my township. So this is alarming.
Is that for minutes? May I ask? I'm sorry. Are you looking at what document are you?
Request form, agenda item,
Oh, okay.
it's right there.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to see what you were looking at. So,
Explanation of agenda item.
okay, thank you.
Also, how are we going to govern all of the grows and things that you're proposing that we have in our township? When there is an illegal grow on Wishbach Road, 4040 Wishbach Road is an illegal grow. The person that has no license. And I have FOIA'd all of the emails about this happening and the township allowing it to happen when the man had no license. And to this day, he still doesn't have a license. I actually have a friend who is an auditor for St. Joe's Mercy Hospitals, which is now Trinity. And she can go into websites and such, and she looked at every website there was. The man has no license. And this board somehow knew that he was constructing a grow on our road. In one of these emails, it strictly says, our township does not allow for this. And you have to be careful that your neighbors don't find out about it. It's in here. 3 months went by and the person in these emails, the zoning officer asked for this person's license. In 3 months, he didn't produce it, and then it was just dropped.
Was it withdrawn? I believe he brought back his permit and he said that he was not gonna be growing and he was only gonna be storing. And at that point, the permit was approved, to my knowledge.
Well, to sit here and say, okay, you know, we know what you wanted it for, but go ahead and rescind this application for this and just say that you want to build onto your existing building and go ahead and do that way. It just, it's appalling to me because the man is strictly growing. Anybody who goes down my road will smell it. And many residents have, and they told me, and we all agreed, and therefore I FOIA'd all of the emails to find out what the heck was going on.
Thank you. I'm
So,
sorry.
so if you can't even govern that, when you know he's not supposed to be growing here, but your administration somehow allows it to happen, how are you going to take care of anything else that goes on in this township? And by the
Oh,
way,
sorry.
I talked to Brian from Brian Services on Brown Drive, where they want to put supposedly a dispensary, because it was said in this meeting they wanted on Brown Drive. And he stated, oh my gosh, we already had catalytic converters stolen off of our vehicles and such. And no way do we want that on our road. You know, people coming from Chicago and all down I-94 from Detroit to Chicago. And, you know, seeing all the, well, going down to the mobile park and saying, oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch of cars that have no garages. We can just come here at night and steal thousands of these catalytic converters in a night or whatever. That's a little overkill, thousands, but you get my
Thank
point.
you. Thank you. Yes.
And
So everyone has 3 minutes. I just
Okay.
want to clarify that. Look, I don't want to hurry, finish up. What you have to say, so.
the collision shop was also concerned because they've already had vandalism. And they're like, they don't want it either. Hopefully they emailed you because I told them, go ahead and email the board
Thank
and
you.
let them know.
Thank you. All right, the next person, I will remind everybody 3 minutes. Yes, thank you. And I also want to say that since this is a time for the public to comment to us, we don't always respond to the comments. It's difficult, but we're listening right now to you, so I'm trying to make notes and circle back around. If you have questions about something, you're always welcome to email us or come in and visit us as well. So thank you. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I'm Mandy Porter. I am a resident. To piggyback off of you, as far as what it would cost to have one deputy stationed here for 40 hours a week would cost approximately $180,000 a year. Because there is not a deputy who is here stationed at all times. I don't know if everyone knows that, but that's how much it would cost for 40 hours a week for 1 year. I just want to remind the board and anyone here who wasn't at the last meeting we talked about this concern is that all those things that residents have already told you in emails, in person, they're all still valid. There was a comment that made from a board member who said, well, people voted it in, right? Incorrect. That's not what people voted in. People voted in back in, what was it, 2018, that they could care less what my neighbor does in their own home. That does not mean we want a dispensary on Brown Drive. That does not mean we want a Costco-sized building on Pierce Road that's growing stinky marijuana. I am a mother of 3 small children from 3's preschool all the way to 3rd grade. I remember being in high school here in Chelsea where not a lot of people use marijuana, but I mean, we knew who did. I personally have never used it. just the smell of a plant gives me a migraine. It's not something, I mean, the registered nurse told you herself, seriously, who is experts at this topic, told you at the last meeting, all of the statistics. I know of several people I graduated with who were the heavy users, who are now practically infertile because their sperm swim in circles. I mean, that's just science. And if you start using it as a small child, just like the nurse told you, and other people have told you, that it's a gateway drug, it truly is. You think, oh, well, that didn't hurt me, well, try this, try that. I know people who that was their gateway drug, and they ruined their life with other drugs like meth and cocaine and heroin, and I mean, I personally did not go down that route, but parents do not want this. Anyone who's in the healthcare who knows, who has seen it firsthand, does not want this. I mean, think about it. If you have a parent who is abusing any sort of drug, even marijuana, and they become pregnant, they're not all smart. I spent 107 days in the NICU with my daughter because she was born with a rare genetic condition. And I saw other people's children in incubators on countless machines. And every time I walk by those specific rooms to get to my daughter, I cried because it's not those children's fault. It's not their fault that their parent couldn't get their life together. So why would you vote this in for some money, knowing that that is exactly what will happen? You had residents at the last meeting who told you they were from Colorado. I have not personally been to this area of Colorado, but they have said it has been ruined. You need to listen to the residents that have voted you here. There's an election next year, and I'm sure there's several residents who might run against you just because they're sick of it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would like to be next. Yes.
Patrick Ziske, I believe I am a resident. That would be again at the end of the meeting. I'm happy to see Carol here today. Even after what happened, and I don't know everything that happened. And I saw everybody applaud after she gave a brief statement, and I think that's great, but I'm not quite willing to let it go yet. I've witnessed a lot of things that happened in public, didn't witness a lot of things that are alleged to happen in private. But I think I have some kind of idea of how we got here. And I do know that there was some kind of consent agreement. I don't know if that's the right terminology. Probably involved a payout from the township. So I think every township resident has to think about the fact that this cost them some money. So I'm going to speak about what I've seen. And I saw last year, to start with, some very strong criticism of the zoning administrator on 2 points that were overheard, allegedly, that she said. Again, I wasn't there. And somehow, don't know what happened exactly next, but somehow this snowballed into a really, really, really big thing. And whatever else happened, and by the way, I'd like the township to release as much information as possible, so the residents have some idea of what's being claimed on both sides. I really do. I don't know what's possible to release, but I know that at the beginning of this, Carol was accused of saying that the level of NIMBYism in the township is very high. And she was accused of soliciting development. That's, again, don't know the exact words. Whether it should have ended this way, no, it shouldn't have. And I think we deserve to know why it ended this way. As far as I'm concerned, the word NIMBY shouldn't even be a bad word. This means not in my backyard. I mean, if something was happening in my backyard and I didn't like it, I would say not in my backyard. The problem is some people don't have the ability to discern the difference between their backyard and their neighbor's backyard. I'm not talking about marijuana and smells down there. That smell's coming into your yard. It is coming into your yard, right? But to throw a big fit over this, or it seems to be a vendetta, I don't get it. And as far as soliciting development, I don't know what was said, but I haven't seen whatever came of all this development that was solicited. I don't know anything about it. But it doesn't seem to have a whole lot of consequence. I'll tell you that I'm becoming a developer now. While I'm still in this township, hopefully. I didn't get solicited. In fact, when I submitted my first rezoning application, ended up in a meeting with Carol and Kathleen Kennedy and Amanda Nimke here, in which I was urged to withdraw my rezoning application. And Carol did most of the talking. So the soliciting development Carol is not the Carol that I know. Again, no consequence. But it progressed from there. And there are different people involved. We ended up into accusations of corruption, soft corruption, whatever that is. And then walking up here, the marijuana issue and accusing people being a member of a cabal. So it's not just about Carol. This thing is going deep and wide now. And people really disagree on some things, maybe marijuana, for example, and all these other things, but that's no way to treat people. I mean, the human effect of this, you realize that you're talking about a human being, and when you're accusing them of some kind of personal offense, like corruption, there's a human being on the other side. And if you're wrong about that, you've hurt somebody for no reason. We're not just politicians here. It's not just road rage. You're giving the finger to somebody on the road. I like to talk about marijuana too. I think I've used up my time. I hope on the marijuana issue that the issue is discussed at length and all of the claims that are being made by people here are addressed, whether they're true or not. They should be addressed. And I'm telling you, I won't accuse anybody of being a member of a cabal just because they don't vote the way I like. Thank you.
Next, anybody else like to speak at? Yep.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm Trenda from Sylvan Township. I have been coming to these meetings for quite some time myself, wanting to help the community. I know there's a lot of issues. Figured I'd quit complaining and start getting involved, coming to these meetings, and ever since I have 10, 12, 14 months ago, I'm just appalled the way things have been handled, the way people speak to each other, the same thing that Patrick said. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this now, since I've worked in the offices since last year in December or so. And I'm trying to do my part to help to be an asset to the community. And I have now we're to a point where someone has been, from my perspective, and I don't know, like everybody else, there's only bits and pieces that we hear of all the stuff that goes on when it happens in the meetings. We don't know about it. But I know what happens in that office is totally different than what happens out here in this room on these meetings. I see that, from my perspective, I look at this and I think Carol, I watched her do the zoning. She is hardcore into her zoning stuff. I don't understand it, but she seems to be passionate about it and she does her job to the best of her ability. And yes, we all have days that we're not at our 100%, but I look at it that we're Sylvan Township, we have a great asset here, or we did have. And now I hear today that She's now been forced to leave because we did have to pay her. When do you ever pay someone to fire them or squeeze them out? Nobody gets paid to leave. This is ridiculous that we have to pay someone from the township to leave because of the fact that she's a zoning person that's working with developers that need all these permits and all this stuff. And as a community, there has to be some sort of development or everything is gonna fall down around us. We have a water tower that is not being used and it's falling apart. We actually have to be fiscally responsible and figure out a way to pay for it. We're taking over $200,000 a year out of the general fund to maintain a water tower that's not being utilized. Okay, that's not, if you had something like this at your house, you would go, okay, we're doing this once and we ain't doing it twice. Well, we've been doing it year after year after year. And all of us know our taxes have gone up for it. We need to all come together, find a plan, how we can utilize the water tower so that we're not all paying for it twice over. And otherwise it's gonna crumble and fall, or else Chelsea will annex it and we won't have anything. Okay, so we have to get responsible about this. Nobody wants anything in their backyard. We want it to stay rural, but we have to be logical about this. And talking like Patrick said about NIMBYs, I'm the same way. I don't want something in my backyard, but you know what? I know I live with people around me, and if I don't want something in my backyard, guess what? I'm gonna buy the property that's beside me or behind me and do what I want with it, because it would be my property. So we all need to think about, this is someone's retirement. Their 401k is that property. These farmers, that's all they have is usually this property. So we have to be cordial and listen to other people and understand if somebody moved in next to you and told you you couldn't do something or you couldn't sell your place, it would be a different thing. So we all have to just be cordial that we all live here together and we want the same thing. But back to Carol, I just believe that we all have to stop the stigma, stop muscling people out, trying to over yell people and trying to have groups of people saying, no, we're doing this. No, we're developing. No, we're putting in pot plants or pot places or whatever. We have to get back to this because right now we have just lost Carol as our zoning commissioner. Okay, so we paid so that she won't sue us is what it is. We paid her so she will not turn around and sue Sylvan Township. Do you guys like that? Now we have to pay a consultant zoning person to come in that has no idea what's going on in this township, what has been going on in this township, and what will be going on in the future. We have to pay a consultant to come in that will know about zoning to take her position, which is going to slow down the effects of everything in this whole township. And we're going to probably pay about 90 grand a year for it. So we paid her to leave. Now we're paying somebody else to do her job. And then we paid attorney fees because for some reason the township attorney got involved and her attorney, she had to get an attorney. Okay, so there was something that went on that attorneys had to fight for. And it sounds like Sylvan Township lost because Carol's walking away with a pocket full of cash.
Why isn't that?
That's what I'm saying. What happens in that office does not even cross the floor in here. That's why we all need to have conversations about what is going on here. Because she actually had overheard a conversation in an office with 3 other people. You walk by, you overhear part of the conversation. This is what it came to. This is the result of overhearing somebody's conversation that you did not even hear. This is eavesdropping. Got us here. And because she accidentally sent an email out with her monochrome at the bottom, and she knew the minute she did it, that it was wrong, and she apologized for it. And you know what? There's not one policy in our program that says you cannot do that, but she was reprimanded for it. So we're losing a zoning person. We are losing a zoning person because of these 2 things. And it is outrageous that we're at this situation. I'm sorry, I overwent my time, but I'm sorry.
I think the older person doesn't know what's going on, but I have no idea.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's my point.
Well, I feel the heat there, but I literally have no idea what's going on, so maybe we can because as a community member, I don't even know what's being discussed. I have no idea what this is all about.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments this time? Yes.
Scott Cooper, I'm a resident of Sylvan Township and path supervisor from 2012 to 2016. You've opened up a can of worms in this, Eversole, a terrible can of worms that is attorney-client privilege. I'm sure that Carol is not happy with it. I know the board isn't happy with it, and the people aren't happy with it, because what you've done is let them know that they are being lied to. They deserve not to be lied to. But Patrick, that's why we're in the position we're in with so much distrust, because there's so much distrust. If you look at this agenda, I could comment on every single thing. Remove second public comment, shouldn't happen, it's unfair. Purchase 11 new computers, hasn't been fully vetted out, we haven't gone, we heard from somebody last month that they're spending too much money, but they'll jam it through. But also, on here, I noticed where they're going to talk about putting in the basement doors, which was over a year ago. So they'll take a year to get this basement doors done. But they'll try and jam through and have 5 meetings on marijuana to try and get it done. Or to do some of these other things, consideration for reposting a project manager position. We don't need it. We don't need it. That's it, the project manager is the zoning person, and yes, with Carol's leaving the township, we will need another zoning person, but that's the person who's the project manager. Consideration for adding an office manager position. I can tell you, they don't need an office manager. There's somebody here that's going to be very disappointed that we don't need one, but we don't need an office manager. All it will do is take away the duties that are already required, shift them to somebody else because they don't want to be blamed for the decisions. Then when bad decisions are made, they'll point the finger at the office manager. So don't apply for the office manager's job. You won't like that. I've been coming to these meetings 35 years. Yeah, it's getting a little caustic, but it's getting caustic for sometimes good reasons. And we had a good reason to do what we did with that employee. Just don't run.
Other public comment tonight? Yes, oh, yep, you, okay, Mr. Van Gogh? Okay, you first, and then.
Sandy Eagle. Give or take 40-year resident of the township. I'm gonna switch gears tonight and actually address the board. Looking through here. One of the things that just jumps out as if it was printed in red. That the treasurer's mileage reimbursement is sitting at 333.69% for the year. And the year's about half over. Something tells me there's a problem there, and I don't know if you all have a mileage reimbursement policy. If you don't, I would strongly recommend you put that on your to-do list. Because either there's a lot of bad budgeting going on or something else. Because, you know, driving from this township hall to town to go to the bank shouldn't cost that much money in 6 months. And the other thing I would like, was that actually like to address what was in the audit presentation. It said for 1 to 2 years, there were several special assessment districts that had not been reconciled nor put on the tax bill. Well, it's November 14th. Treasurer's office should be a hopping, putting things on the tax bill that we're all gonna get. Merry Christmas to us, right, in a couple weeks? I would like to know, have those special assessment districts in the last 6 weeks been reconciled? And are they on the tax bills this year? Because I haven't seen on the agenda for the board action to figure out what to do to make up for the lost years, whether you're going to extend the life of the special assessment district by the years missed, whether you're going to, change the principal amounts that you've been assessing each year to make up for the lost years. Haven't seen anything. And call me crazy as a government accountant. That should have been on the top of your to-do list to make sure that that gets done. So that the revenue's coming into the township to pay the bills that need to be paid from that revenue, and we don't get another nasty gram in the audit again next year. So I'll be waiting around to hear the comments back from the board to see if that's been taken care of. Thank you.
Good evening, Mike Bangor, Township President. I would like to build on my previous comments. The previous meeting regarding marijuana dispensary grow and things that have been talked about, but build on that, not only my comments, but the other hour and a half, 2 hours of comments at that meeting too. The objections that we have are not unique to Sylvan Township. At the vote last week, it was turned down in 4 other Southeast Michigan communities. In Rochester, Birmingham, Eagle Harbor, and Grosse Pointe Park. And they weren't really all that close, except for in Eagle Harbor, where there's only a little over 500 residents that voted. But, for example, in Rochester, there were 4,129 votes on one of the issues versus 498. It was resounding 89%. The people did not want that there. Birmingham 74%. Eagle Harbor was 54 to 61% against it. They had 3 issues on the ballot. Grosse Pointe Park was between 78 and 67% based on 2 ballot issues that they had to vote on. This is based on article in the Open Press, is where I got those numbers from. I would just ask that we really do listen to the comments made by the residents here. They're obviously very passionate. I would echo the things that I said in the past and tonight too, and so thank you for listening. And I hope this is not just hearing, but it's listening. Thank you.
Is there any other comment? Yes.
Hi. Renee Townsend, 35-ish year resident of the township. A few things I wanted to comment on that are on the agenda. The second public comment should not be taken away. We get to sit here and listen to the entire meeting and then make comments on what did or didn't get addressed after our first public comment. So I think that's valuable. The marijuana, this is the 3rd meeting we've had recently, almost to a person. Everybody that has come in has given very good reasons why we don't want it. I would agree with all of them and more. A dispensary was robbed the other day. Armed robbery of the security guard that was in the parking lot, and they broke in and took all the safes that were in there. And we're considering this in a township that has no police. Doesn't seem like a good idea. Mike mentioned the votes in the other areas that all voted it down. It's just not a good idea. I see there's discussion of an ethics policy that I wanted to address, and also the YouTube channel.
So. Getting into a little bit of everything, and Patrick has made comments, regarding, what happened and not knowing, not seeing what others perhaps have seen, and called out the fact that my husband mentioned quiet corruption. And there's a reason for that, okay? The board would probably disagree, but we've been fairly quiet. We've kind of sat back and tried to see what is going to happen, although we call out bad behavior when we see it. But I have thousands of emails that I have FOIA'd, thousands. And I would like to read you an exchange now so that you also see what we are seeing. A resident, who is here tonight, Dave Reinhardt, sent an email to Rod. He was requesting Trenda's email address to make a thank you email to her for some comments she made. And then he went on, and dang, are you a glutton for punishment or what? Bringing up cannabis again a few years later, when it was tabled and or turned down before, it was so early in the legalization process. I guess we should never learn more facts, never change our mind, and never be able to change policies. I'm surprised you were able to hold it together when Kevin Townsend slammed a paper down in front of your face and stabbed it with his finger. WTF. The response from Rod, thank you, Dave, and thank you for the email you sent in reply to Patrick. It took a lot not tell Kevin to go F himself. Kathy and I agreed it was time again to do this, and Sandy has been wanting it for a while. And honestly, I will do about anything right now because I am not running again. He goes on to say, I am so done. I liked the Sun-Times article where Nimke said there was enough info for a vote. Does she not realize that her and Kurt would lose? How stupid is she? My God. So he's just told us he will do anything and that the votes are basically stacked, right? So we're standing here talking, we're passionate about this. This cannot come down to a vote by the board, okay? They can look at this and they can look at 3 meetings and say, 40 people each time have stood up and said, we don't want this here. And they can say, hey, as Kurt did at one meeting, let's remove this from the agenda. Nobody wants it. Or it needs to go to a ballot of the entire township because we were just told that the votes are stacked here. And this is why there's mistrust. Okay, I've got nothing personal against anybody sitting up here. I have nothing personal against Carol. I don't know these people well enough personally to have anything against them. But I will call out crap. Do your job. These people were voted in by us. They worked for us and they're supposed to be working for the good of the township and the residents. So please just do your job. And just an aside, there was talk at a recent meeting about team building, which I'm not sure that's a good spend based on what seems like the atmosphere here.
So we're
the YouTube
we'll
channel.
pass the 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I want you to finish up. So
Okay, I was just gonna comment on the YouTube channel. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Such important things.
Yes, well, and this is part of the YouTube channel. I'm glad it's there finally, and there are some meetings up on there. It's not super, they're not like all the board meetings together and all the PC meetings together and stuff. You gotta really kind of hunt, and they're out of chronological order, and a lot of them are really, really hard to hear. So I know we're supposed to be getting a better system in here, which maybe that will help, but I saw there was a comment that said now we can have regular minutes instead of super long minutes, and I think we still need detailed minutes, because you can't no one's gonna sit through that when everything starts getting garbled, they're just gonna go, okay, wait. I'm not gonna sit here for an hour and a half when I can only figure out half of what is being said. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment tonight? Yes.
Hi, my name is Heather Johnson. I am a resident, a new resident. I've only been in the township for 4 years now. I came from, Livonia, moved my children, out here to give them a better life, simple life. And now I hear there's gonna be a dispensary built right outside of my home. This is the road that my children travel daily. They walk with their friends up to the gas station, to the dollar store, to the county fair. And now I have to worry about them walking past a dispensary. Like she said about, sorry, I'm so nervous.
That's okay, you're doing a great job. Take your time.
I also work in the hospital and I see a lot of people that are actually withdrawing from marijuana. And it's so devastating, and to watch them go into a rehab only to relapse, to come back to the hospital and seek more treatment. I'm just a mother. I'm begging, I'm pleading. I want the best for my children. I want the best for the township, I don't even know. I get like, okay, whatever, it's a convenience, but you know what? These are choices that you have to make, and I don't want it in my neighborhood. I don't want my children to be tempted.
Chelsea, people want it in their neighborhood.
Understand.
Yeah, like my kids will tell me, like, I came out here to get them away from this, and now it's being built on the same street that we live on, and I'm not okay with it.
Nothing, well, I'm shocked for what I'm hearing tonight. I think there must be a rumor mill about, because nothing's been approved or proposed that I know of, no dispensaries. This is news to me. So I just want to say, well, he's one person of 5 also, like anything would take a board vote. So I just want to say that, but I'm hearing it sounds like it's imminent, and I want people to know that that's not my understanding. Thank you, yes.
Okay, so my name is Brian Dar. I do own a landscape business on Brown Drive. My wife and I also are residents, new residents in Sylvan Township. So very happy to live here, but I'd like to make a few comments from several points of view. One is a business owner who would be close by to a proposed property. And the reason that I've heard the rumor on Brown, I mean, there's vacant land in the area. I don't know why. But there's not that much commercial space in Sylvan Township, as I'm well aware of. I had to find some to build a business. So it's likely that could be a possible spot. So I'd like to speak as a young person. I would note that I haven't seen any young people here voicing their interest in having any marijuana in the area. So, you know, that voice has yet to be heard, I suppose. So as someone who's looking to start a family, someone who has a business, you know, next to a proposed, or not proposed, it may be a location. I think that marijuana I think it's bad to the community. I think it's bad for my business. I'm assuming that the lady that just spoke probably lives in Sylvan Crossing, which is a development down the street from our business. They have about 145 homes, and they're building another 140 homes. So there's a lot of people that walk by, you know, on Brown Drive up and down. And pass in front of my business, you know, to the gas station and things like that. If there were to be a marijuana dispensary built there, those people would be seeing that every day. There's a lot of young people that walk past. I think that, you know, one of the reasons that I selected Sylvan Township to live in is I like the fact that, you know, we're kind of a nice isolated area here outside of places that are Jackson or Ann Arbor. Those people can just drive to Jackson or Ann Arbor if they would like to get marijuana. I mean, I'm not going to hold them back from doing it. I think marijuana is bad for business. It fails drug tests. You know, marijuana is still federally illegal. When we look for CDL drivers for big trucks, marijuana fails drug tests. The folks that live in Sylvan Crossing, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the younger people could be potential employees. if they're smoking marijuana, they're not eligible anymore. So if we're talking about, improving the community, we'd love to give, young people jobs, local people jobs that, if they've got marijuana in their system, we can't do it, so as far as improving the community, I don't see a need to add more access. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of marijuana people that are smoking in Sylvan Township. We're not gonna prevent that. We're not trying to. But as far as promoting it, or increasing access, I just don't think it's necessary to do that. There was a concern of crime. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, marijuana, I believe, is still federally illegal. I'm aware that banks will not deal with them because it's a federally illegal activity that they're conducting. So it's mostly cash business. Well, that does encourage crime in an area that doesn't have great police protection yet because we're just not really big enough to afford it yet. I don't see that we need to have, big cash businesses that are known that they're cash. So, I don't know, just aside from all the conflict, I don't see a need. I don't see, as a business person, I don't see a great future in the marijuana industry for someone starting a dispensary. I mean, I think it's a bubble that's gonna burst. Too many people started dispensaries at once, in my opinion. I don't see how in 5 years, all these dispensaries will still be in business. I think we'll have a lot of vacant buildings. I don't want vacant buildings in Sylvan Township, and I don't really see the need for dispensaries, so, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want my family, near marijuana. That's why we built here. I think it's bad for my business. I don't think it's great for the community. I think there's plenty of other businesses that we could use to generate tax revenue. And if we can keep workers working without failing drug tests, we can also increase tax revenue that way. So I don't see a need for it. I think those folks can drive to I drove past one in Moore Lake today. There's one's Ann Arbor, one's in Jackson. So why do they have to be in our backyard? I mean, definitely people voted to legalize it in Michigan, but that doesn't mean that they want it, super close by. So, anyway, thank you for all your patience and listening to all that stuff, but that's all I have to say. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Stacy Freisinger. I'm from Sylvan Township, but my husband and I raised our family elsewhere, but I am a property owner. I have a non-marijuana comment. I'm like I said, my husband and I are property owners, both in Chelsea and Sylvan Township, and the commercial corridor that's kind of started with the Chevy dealership. We own property across the street from that. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about whether or not to grow, whether or not to add commercial, multi-use commercial. And we really feel like that area is a good multi-use area. It's not good agricultural. The property behind us, there's 76 acres for sale, and 35 of that is largely wetlands. And so I know there's been a lot of talk about wanting to keep that area agricultural, but it's simply not good agricultural land. And that is easy on, easy off from the expressway. There aren't a lot of homes there. At least that one section that I'm talking about. And it would kind of keep the extension of Chelsea growth without kind of coming into this area. So I'm just wanted to express my my feelings about that. And yeah, I appreciate you listening. Thank you so much. Yes, hi.
Dan Russell, Sylvan Township resident. Couple of things. And all this talk about marijuana, right? Just when you think it's so compelling to say no, something twists at the board level, and we wind up with something that we don't want. I've seen it. I've been coming to the meetings now years, and have seen it enough where it seems to be a pattern. So I'd say everyone keep the gas pedal down on the marijuana thing. I would also agree with Kurt's observation with, let's either get rid of it or put it out to vote. I also heard on the radio about the results of the marijuana stuff, Kibo Harbor and all that. A week or so ago too, and I was just like, hey, I mean, seems like everyone was like, yeah. And now everyone sees what it's done to other communities. And now people are going, you know what, maybe this isn't such a good idea. And once you invite it in, you can't get rid of it. Right? You can't kick them out because you've approved the thing. So so that's my take on marijuana. Trenda made our zoning person sound like she's fantastic. And I can tell you this, I'm also sitting on a bunch of emails that and have read through it because of my interactions with my property. And the property near me, how that was gonna happen years ago, and reading through those emails that I FOIA'd, I would say quiet corruption is accurate. And I'm looking forward to bringing some of those comments to these meetings. I think it was fantastic that one of those messages was read out loud so everyone knows. So when we get anxious and excited and we seem upset, there's pretty good reason. And I think here in the next couple of months, I think you're gonna understand why. And I don't expect everyone's gonna be here. This is a large crowd for these types of meetings. But they will be in the minutes, they will be on the video, and then everyone, I think, can sort of see where we're going. So when it comes time to vote next year, we can vote accurately. Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? Right. Yes, at the end.
Amy Kobarczyk, yep, I'm a resident, and this is, I think, like my fourth meeting now. So I'm not gonna pile on to what I've already said over and over again around the marijuana. We don't want it. It's not good for our township. Voting for marijuana in a state election for medicinal purposes is completely different to having a dispensary. Anybody can look at the mass production of anything and realize that when you take something that grows in a few things and you can produce it in small quantities, it is considerably different than when you start mass producing it and the damage and the expansion that comes with it. So just take a look at history and how we mass produce pretty much everything. Anything from cherry trees to peaches to, you know, our everyday foods. Look at what they do to the land, look at what they do to the environment. Marijuana is not gonna be any different, it's gonna be the same thing. So, second, when we vote people into this board, we expect you to be ethical, we expect you to be dignified, we expect you to be professional. To hear an email